Welcome back to CodeWithKamira, and today we are going to look at another feature that is users feature. So we can create it. Users. Data. Domain. UI. Logic. In data, we create models, create repositories, domain, create repositories, UI, create pages, widgets. Okay, so we need to check the API setup. So in users, we are going to handle two cases: users here, get users, and get user, a single user. Okay. Now note that here we are talking to users, not logged in user whose profile we already have. So we check the client, API client here. We create get path is API dot users, and we get a future. Remember, we don't know the type the API is giving us, so we could give it dynamic. We shall improve later. Get user, get users. What is this? Okay, type in the name. Then at get, we need APIs user, and it's a future. The type we don't know because we don't know the model, structure of the model. So we get user info, and this requires a path of ID and a string user ID. All right, so this is user info and user. Now we go to our feature users in the domain. Let me delete this that I don't remember when I created it. Okay, then I move this in the right place at the root. It should be inside the features here. Okay, then it should create somewhere here. Okay, so in the domain, we have the repository to create, which is an abstract class. We call it user repository. So abstract class user repository. In this, we can create two methods that return a feature of our custom network response. and we call this get users. Then another one, future of our custom network response. Call this get user info, which requires an ID of the user. Something wrong? Okay. Now in the repositories of data, we create user repository implementation plus user repository implements user repository. All right. Now let's override these methods. So this first one, you get user info, so try. Then we have on deal exception, catch. Okay. Then we have catch in case of any other exception. All right, so here we say final response is equals to not, it is a future, so it's async here and async here. So final response equals to await API client, which we need, let API client in the user repository. We say our API client equals to API service dot API client. Okay, so this equals to API client dot get user info, and you pass the ID. Then if it succeeds, you return network response of success true, and the data is the response you get. Then on deal exception, the error message, final message is equals to exception dot response dot data, and we take the one under message. Then we return a network response of success false, and the error is the message. Then in this last one, final, the error is equals to a dot to string. Whatever is thrown will just display. So you return a network response and the success is false, then the error is the error. All right, so it's the same. So let's copy this, paste it here. We change this to get users. Okay, so everything is the same. All right, now because we are using blocks and Cubit, we need to register these repository, and in my app, I think, yes, where repository providers are. So this is a repository provider, and on create, we want to return a user repository implementation. Okay. Now we need the logic section. We create user states, user state, and user qubit. So here, class user state extends equatable. Okay. And we give an empty list of props. So we can create the various states. We create the initial plus initial extends user state, and this has nothing inside. Create loading class user loading extends user state. This should be used as loading. For loading users. Okay, then we create class user success should be users extends user state. Here we expect final dynamic, since we don't know the type at the moment, dynamic users. And so in the user success, we are going to put this dot users. Okay, and also props, we are going to put users. So I can do this. For error, users error. The response string message required. Here in the props, pass message. Now we need other states. That is the user info. Okay. loading, copy. We call it user loading. You may confuse user info loading. Success, user info, success, user info success. And this user info, it returns dynamic, which we don't know yet is user. And the error, user info error. User info error. So states are done. Now we create the qubit. So class, call it user qubit, which extends qubit of which state? User state. Okay, remove this. Super with initial. And in this qubit, we need user repository. Okay. So we put this dot repository. And now this qubit will create the methods. So future type void, because we are not returning anything here, we just emit state. Type void get users async here. We save final response equals to await repository dot get users. So we say if response dot success else. However, don't forget, when this get user is called, we immediately emit the user's loading state. Now, if success for final response data is equals to response dot data print users list response data. We don't know the type, so from the response we shall make a custom model. Now you are meant to emit users success, and users is response data. So else final error message is equals to response dot error. Then you emit users error state, and this is the error message. So the point is, what if it's null? Something wrong happened. Okay. Now we are going to copy, paste. So this is get user info. And a meeting is we are meant to emit user info loading. Then here response equals to await repository.get user info. We need the ID, so we pass this user ID. User ID. So success is the same. Everything here remains the same. We are maintaining because it's dynamic data. We don't know which type it is. So if we know the type, then you will see some changes being done here, like converting the dynamic to JSON or from JSON. Okay, and the state here is user info success, where the property is user. Also, the error is user info error. Okay, so we need to register this. Let me call this user info data. We need to register this qubit inside our blocks. Multi-block. Okay. So this is a block provider on create CTX, and we return user qubit, which needs to read the repository. So this is, we are reading user repository implementation. Okay. Let's auto-generate some files here. From the readme, we should have our command. I'm gonna use this. Now, you notice that we are working on this project as per feature, but we're not touching the UI. That will come later. Let's first work on the logic, then we move to the UI. All right, so we need, when one logs in, we go to the home, I think. We need to make these calls. Let's call context read. Let's read user qubit, and we say get users. Since we have no ID, we shall not call get users ID, get users info here. But let's try to see from get users. right, let's go. Let's check if we have this logged. Yes. So this means we already have the users list coming, and you can see it is like this. It comes back as this. So I need to try to get the model. So this response, when you look at it, it starts with users. So we need to create another model. Okay, data, create users response. So class users response at JSON serializable a list of type user profile. But then tentatively, let's take the profile in the domain, not the DTO. We are meant to take down of DTO, but we've not created mappers, so we can do that later. So here we do that. So that is users. It has int total. It has int skip. It has int limit. So this is users response. Is dot okay. We can create a factory. So factory users response dot from JSON. JSON is a map string dynamic JSON. We want it to return and we create JSON map copy part. We run to build. Okay. Let's go to the API definitions. We are here at users, not user. Users response. The response from the repository gives us a network response that has success and then data or error. So for data is of type users response. So we can say as users response. And now here we can get a lot of params, we can get the limit, the skip, and so on, but we are interested in the users list. So we say final users equals to response data dot, you see, these we need users at. So that means here we log users. And in success, we pass users, but also let's tell this to expect a list of users, no, a list of user profile. Okay, so in the qubit, if this is null, then, which I don't think, but if it's null, then give us an empty list. Yes, so here we have then our log is here. So it says instance of user profile, instance of user profile, instance of user profile. That is it for today. Thank you for watching. Kindly subscribe to CodeWithKamira if you've not yet subscribed. See you next time. Bye.